April 1945. Germany is in its death throes. Soviet tanks are already visible from the rooftops of Berlin. But while the entire world watches the fall of the Third Reich, deep in the Thuringian Mountains, an operation is unfolding that the American command will prefer to remain silent about for the next 50 years. Imagine over 100 tons of gold bars, countless sacks of diamonds, emeralds, and rubies, thousands of crates of priceless works of art, and all this hidden 800 meters underground in an abandoned salt mine. This is not a Hollywood blockbuster script. This is the true story of how the United States carried out the largest theft operation in human history. A story that still has some unsolved questions. A story that will pose an uncomfortable question. Did all of Hitler's gold ever reach its destination? It back. What you're about to hear will change your understanding of World War II. To understand the scale of what American soldiers discovered, we must first answer the question, where did war-torn Germany get so much gold? The answer is terrifying. When Hitler came to power in 1933, the Reichsbank's gold reserves amounted to a paltry 92 tons. By 1945, over 800 tons had passed through Nazi hands. Where did this difference come from? The first source is annexations. Austria, Czechoslovakia, Belgium, and the Netherlands, the gold reserves of these countries disappeared into the vaults of the Reichsbank within days of their occupation. The second source is confiscations. Jewish families across Europe were deprived of family heirlooms accumulated over generations. Gold jewelry, silverware, coins, everything was melted down. And the third source? The third source makes your blood run cold. There's a document in the U.S. National Archives, a Reichsbank report on the arrival of dental gold from concentration camps. Gold crowns, bridges, dentures, everything was removed from Holocaust victims and sent to be melted down. Estimates ranged from 2 to 10 tons of gold. Every bar discovered by the Americans potentially contained a piece of this horror. But the Nazis had no intention of handing over their wealth to the victors. Back in 1943, when it became clear the war was lost, the Reichsbank leadership began developing an evacuation plan. Codenamed Austerlitz Plan, the gold was to disappear, to become the foundation for the rebirth of the Fourth Reich. And here's where things get interesting, because the Americans didn't find all the gold that was supposed to be in the vaults. Far from it. Where did hundreds of tons of precious metal disappear? Thuringia, Central Germany, March 1945. Unusual trucks arrive in the town of Merkers under SS escort. Locals are ordered not to leave their homes. Violators are shot on sight. The trucks head to the old Kaiserroda potash mine, 800 meters deep. The temperature is a constant 12 degrees Celsius, ideal conditions for storing anything. For weeks, boxes are lowered into the mine. Thousands of boxes. Work continues around the clock. Officially, they are archival documents. In reality, they contain the entire gold reserves of the Third Reich. But the mine held more than just gold. Artwork from museums across occupied Europe was housed in the adjacent adits. Rembrandt paintings, Michelangelo sculptures, ancient manuscripts. And one more thing. In the deepest tunnels were stored containers containing documentation from the ANIB, the SS's Occult Institute. What was in these containers? Why were their contents never declassified? On April 4th, 1945, advance units of Patton's army entered Merkers. The town surrendered without a fight. But the strange behavior of the locals alerted intelligence. People kept their eyes averted. It was obvious they were hiding something. And then something happened that changed everything. Two soldiers, Privates Klein and Ganowski, stopped two women who had violated curfew. The terrified women began to make excuses. One let it slip that she worked as a midwife and helped the wives of the SS men guarding the gold in the mine. Gold. In the mine, the soldiers exchanged glances. They had no idea what a jackpot they'd hit, but getting to the gold proved difficult. The mine was mined. The entrances were blown up. The SS did everything they could to prevent anyone from getting inside. No one except the American sappers. On April 7th, a group of American military personnel descended into the mine for the first time. It included sappers, intelligence officers, and several civilian specialists whose names remain classified. The elevator descended slowly, 800 meters deeper than the Eiffel Tower. Absolute darkness. Only the creaking of cables and the pounding of a heart. When the doors opened, the Americans found themselves in another world, an underground city. Kilometers of tunnels in salt rock, walls shimmering with crystals. Perfect silence. The first halls stunned the scouts. Stacks of boxes to the ceiling, Reichsbank markings. Inside gold bars, each weighing 12.5 kilograms. Further on bags of currency, dollars, pounds, francs. Boxes of gold coins. And even further away suitcases filled with precious stones, so large that the officers couldn't believe their eyes. Colonel Bernstein, Eisenhower's financial advisor, would write in his report, "The sight was so incredible that I thought I was hallucinating. I rubbed my eyes." The gold was still there, the value over $500 million. In today's money, that's about $15 billion. But here's where things get strange. The inventory was taken in a hurry. Officially because of the advancing Soviet troops. Unofficially, some boxes weren't even opened. They were simply loaded and shipped. Where to? The amount of gold didn't match the Reichsbank records. Where did the difference go? And another thing, several officers involved in the operation later made dizzying careers in the banking sector. Coincidence? On April 12th, 3 of the most powerful men in the American Army descended into the mine: Eisenhower, Bradley, and Patton. There's a famous photograph, the 3 generals among stacks of gold. Their faces are impassive. Patton wrote in his diary, "If the Germans had spent this on weapons, the war would have lasted another year. Thank God they were greedy." Eisenhower gave the order. The gold was to be removed within 72 hours. Soviet troops were approaching. The mine was located in the zone that, according to the Yalta Agreement, was to be ceded to the USSR. And here begins the secret part of the operation. Officially, the removal took 10 days. The Army trucks were guarded. The route was to Frankfurt, the financial headquarters of the occupation forces. But there is evidence. Other trucks were traveling in parallel, unmarked. Where were they headed? Sergeant McCleary told reporters. Several trucks separated from the convoy and turned south, towards Switzerland. Switzerland, a country that maintained neutrality. A country whose banks never questioned the origin of gold. Coincidence? Too many coincidences form a pattern. After the war, the Restitution Commission worked for several years. The deeper they dug, the more questions emerged. Problem 1. Reichsbank records were destroyed or missing. It's impossible to determine how much gold was originally stored. Second, the Americans melted down the bars to remove the Nazi markings. A noble goal. No one wanted bars with swastikas. But the melting destroyed traces of origin. Now it's impossible to determine what was stolen from Belgium, what from the Netherlands, and what was cast from the victims' dental gold. Third, discrepancies. About 100 tons of gold were never found. $2.5 billion at today's exchange rate. Where did it go? Theory 1. It was taken by Nazis fleeing to South America along the Ratlins. Eichmann lived quite comfortably in Argentina. Where did the money come from? Theory 2. It ended up in Swiss banks. Only in the 1990s did Switzerland admit to storing Nazi accounts. How much gold is still in their vaults? Theory 3 is scandalous. Some was appropriated by American officers. In the chaos of war, control is minimal. Temptation is maximum. A single 12-kilogram bar provided a comfortable life for decades. Several officers suddenly became rich after the war. Officially, they were smart investments. But there's a fourth theory, the most frightening. In 1947, the CIA was created. The new intelligence agency needed money. Lots of money that didn't need to be justified to Congress. There's a theory some of Hitler's gold became the basis for black budgets. Money without documentation. Money for anything secret operations, bribing politicians. There's no evidence, but there are coincidences. Operation Gladio, an anti-communist underground network in Europe. Funding unknown, massive. Operation Mockingbird infiltrating American media. Cost unknown. Lasted for decades. Where did the money come from? Officially from the budget. Unofficially, perhaps from bullion that never reached the Federal Reserve. A beautiful theory. Unprovable. We know the Americans discovered colossal treasures in the mine, a fact confirmed by thousands of documents and photographs. We know the treasures were removed as quickly as possible. We know some of the gold was returned to the victim countries. Belgium, the Netherlands, and Austria received their reserves or part of them. We know the unidentified gold was distributed as reparations. It cannot be returned to the owners. They perished in the camps. And we know the discrepancies have never been explained. 100 tons of gold, thousands of diamonds, countless works of art disappeared, dissolved, or transferred to other hands. The story of Hitler's gold is not just a story about treasures. It is a story about how war blurs the lines between good and evil, how the victors sometimes behave no better than the vanquished, how truth dissolves in secret archives. 80 years have passed. The participants are dead. The documents are partly declassified, partly destroyed, partly classified forever. Questions remain. Where did the 100 tons go? Who made the decisions? Why are the archives closed? And the main question, if you found yourself in that mine among mountains of gold, in the chaos of a crumbling empire with no one watching, what would you have done?